kidding. That was my reaction on press row for Dylan Guenther's incredible overtime winner last night against the Philadelphia Flyers. Unbelievable environment to be in at the Delta Center. I felt so lucky to be there, and I feel so lucky to be here with you guys too. My name is Austin Facer. I'm the host of SLC Puck, and you're listening to episode 80 of SLC Puck. Thank you for tuning in. Appreciate you guys so much. Lots to talk about, lots to go over with the big game, the big win. Really emotional, really great moment for the Utah Hockey Club in a year that's already been filled with so many great moments. You know what I mean? There's been so many incredible little tidbits, little moments in time that are going to stand out forever as we look back on this inaugural season. I'll tell you one thing I'm going to look back and remember. It's seeing my good friend Kellen for almost 3 straight nights. Three times within a week, I saw Kellen, who is a fan of the show. I bumped into him at the kids' party last week, and then I saw him at another function, and then I saw him at last night's game. And I had promised from day one that I would give him a shout out on the show. I completely missed the boat a couple times. I had a couple opportunities to give Kellen a shout out. So I want to take the opportunity to right or wrong. Let's say that. Kellen, appreciate you so much. Thank you for tuning into the show. Kellen and his family, they do a terrific schmaltz dance in celebration of my Big Nick energy moment. You remember that when I ripped my shirt off and all that? That was fun to see. So I want to first and foremost start the show by just saying what's up to Kellen and apologizing profusely for not giving the shout out that I promised to give him about a week ago. So Kellen, this is for you, man. Appreciate it. Thanks for tuning in. And big thanks to all you guys for tuning in, for your support and appreciation and love of SLC Puck. It means so much to me, and I'm so happy and grateful to be with you guys. If you like the show, if you love the show, if you want to support the show, a great way to do so is to buy some SLC Puck merch. And look, I've got some great new stuff up here. We got a new dad hat, a little shirt for kids here, hoodies, all kinds of good stuff with SLC Puck branding on it. So go ahead and check that out in the store. You can leave a donation if you like. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe either if the show's your kind of thing. And just so you know, this is not my typical hairdo. Those of you who have been following the show for a while would know that, costumes and silliness are kind of a hallmark of the show here at SLC Puck. Hey guys, I want to interrupt today's episode for just a second to let you know about this incredible partnership we have here at SLC Puck. It's so good, it might even get you out of the penalty box with your significant other, if you know what I mean. I've partnered with the good folks at Payne Anthony Creative Jewelers and Jonathan's Jewelers, same ownership, to give you like this unbelievable deal. This is what we're going to do. We're going to give away one $250 gift card for each episode in February. That's 8 $250 gift cards in total. It's nuts. It's crazy. Here's what's even crazier about it, how easy it is to get in the drawing. All you have to do is scan this QR code right here. It's going to pull up a text message thing. You just got to send that. You're in the drawing. Bada bing, bada boom. You're in. It gets better, though. If you head into Payne Anthony Creative Jewelers at Trolley Square or Jonathan's Jewelry in Cottonwood Heights and just mention SLC Puck, they'll knock $100 off any purchase. Nuts. Absolutely bonkers. Super happy to have this deal going on with our good friends at Payne Anthony Creative Jewelers and Jonathan's Jewelers. It's easy. So what are you waiting for? Scan the QR code, hit send is what I meant to say. Hit send on that text and get some ice from Payne Anthony Creative Jewelers and Jonathan's Jewelry today. Details, rules, regulations, all that good stuff at slcpuck.com. Go check it out. And big thanks to Payne Anthony Creative Jewelers and Jonathan's Jewelers for their support of SLC Puck. Thank you. Back to the show. And I thought, a part of today's show, we could sort of celebrate spicy tuna. And I thought we could do that a number of ways. For one, I'm wearing a spicy tuna wig. Just happen to have it sitting around. You know what's crazy? I think this actually looks really good. I kind of dig this look. I might pick this up as a permanent thing, or maybe I'll just grow my hair out if it still can at 32 years old. And I've also got a tray of spicy tuna sushi, which you can get at Walmart and tastes about as good as you can imagine. Sushi from Walmart would. And so good, it's even falling apart right here on my plate while I'm trying to pick it up. So there you go. But anyway, wow, what a win against the Philadelphia Flyers last night. A 3-2 overtime victory. Absolutely thrilling. A lot of storylines in this one. And, it was funny. I had the opportunity to go help my guy, Ryan Miller, who does a great job over at KSL.com. I had the opportunity to go help him cover the story and add a story of my own, something that I thought was interesting or noteworthy from the game. I wrote about spicy tuna as part of the action, part of the intrigue from last night. I thought there was an interesting Liam O'Brien storyline that I dove into a little bit. But it was funny. We were sitting there on press row, and it's all the usual suspects in the Salt Lake City hockey media world, right? So Belle Fraser was there, Cole Bagley, Jay Stevens was there with us, Brogan Houston from Deseret News, all this stuff, right? And Matt Coma, who writes for NHL.com. And it was fun. At a certain point, I was like, you know what? Why don't we just all work off of like a shared Google Doc? Because we're just going to be writing the same story. But it was one of those nights where if you're working as a sports writer, and I have a lot of experience with sports writing. Dad here was a sports writer at the Deseret News for quite some time. But sometimes the stories just write themselves. And I think that was the case last night in a way like no other. We saw Dylan Guenther made his comeback, first appearance in 12 games, had been out with a lower body injury. And it was incredible to see what he brings to the team. There was just a certain confidence, a certain swagger when he is on the ice. And it felt contagious. And I think not only was that confidence kind of like a bug, I guess, that kind of made its way throughout the lineup, but kind of the shooting bug was there as well. And that was kind of what I talked about in my story on KSL.com. So if you're listening to this right now on KSL.com, finish the show for one. And for two, head over to the Utah Hockey Club section. You'll see a story here. Spicy Tuna turns in his best performance of the season in Utah Hockey Club's win over the Flyers. So that was not an understatement. That's not hyperbole. That's not just something I put out there as a thesis. That was what Andre Tourigny, the head coach of the Utah Hockey Club, said. Liam O'Brien had a great game, and we'll talk about him for just a second. But I think those of us who have been following the team a little bit at length have come to know what to expect from Liam O'Brien, right? Yes, he's spicy tuna. He's got the nickname that all the teenage boys love. He became an instant fan favorite at the NHL welcome party back in April. Let's get this place buzzing! That was Liam O'Brien. We know, like sometimes not just sometimes, but most of the time, the statistical output isn't quite there. He's not an elite player. And I think Liam O'Brien would admit that like his fame kind of outweighs his ability on the ice sometimes. But that was not the case last night. He had a terrific game. He exceeded his season high for shots in a game. He doubled it. His previous season high was 2 shots in a game. He had 5 last night, and some of those chances were really, really pretty nice. I think we would probably classify those as grade A chances in the statistical world. But a lot of that just came from being in the right place at the right time. Great positioning by O'Brien. Andre Tourigny talked about this a lot. They called him just a great structure guy. And if you can play within a system, if you can be in the right place at the right time, like I said, you're going to find a way to stick in the National Hockey League. He also brings an element of toughness to the team as well. He did fight as well. So a lot of Liam O'Brien on the score sheet last night. No goals, though. Didn't get an assist, and he hasn't registered a point all year. But I would imagine the night he does, and if it happens in the Delta Center, that place is going to go absolutely bananas because Liam O'Brien's the guy that everybody wants to cheer for. Everybody appreciates the energy and the enthusiasm and the excitement he brings to the Utah Hockey Club. He deserves to be rewarded with a goal. And I think we'll see that eventually. That he'll have a few more chances this season to find the score sheet. And wouldn't that be fun? The last night of the season or whatever, the fan appreciation night at the Delta Center, if Liam O'Brien shows his appreciation by scoring a goal. Wouldn't that be something? I could see that storyline building, but he was damn close last night. And that was kind of the thesis of my story on KSL.com. So go ahead and check that out. And Ryan Miller did a really nice job of recapping the last sequence that I just played here at the start of the show, which was Dylan Guenther's goal in overtime. But let's talk about that one more time. So Dylan Guenther, I think, brings so much to this team. I think he's someone who's going to become really, really important. I think he has a chance to probably even be a household name in Utah. I feel like when I see people out and about on the concourse at Delta Center, I see when I do see people wearing jerseys, I see a lot of Keller jerseys. I see some Sergachev jerseys. I see a few Vamelka jerseys, but I see a ton of Dylan Guenther jerseys. And if that's a way to measure like someone's, I guess the amount of fanhood someone has, I think you could say Dylan Guenther it's not crazy to suggest he might be the most popular player on the team. And I think that's for good reason. I really think we can almost look at him as kind of like the Donovan Mitchell of this team. And we all remember the Donovan Mitchell era with the Jazz, especially his first few years of the team, how exciting that was. I think we can appreciate Dylan Guenther the same way because the guy is unbelievably talented. He's not doing the same stuff Donovan Mitchell did. He's not crashing, barbecues on the 4th of July, but maybe Dylan Guenther will. The 4th of July is not for a couple months. We'll see that. I think if he takes like a really active approach in the community, and he doesn't have to, but it's just a suggestion. I think you could see him be a really, really big star because his talent on the ice definitely deserves that. And I talk about this on the show so much. They were like, I was a fan of the Mighty Ducks growing up. The Mighty Ducks movies are kind of what got me into hockey. So I naturally gravitated towards that team. And my favorite player was Paul Kariya. So that's why I wore number 9 in high school. I don't know if you can see this, by the way, why I wore 9 pretty much my whole hockey career. And what was fun about Paul Kariya's run with the Mighty Ducks is he was complimented by Teemu Selanne. And those guys were just a really fun, like at the time, very young, exciting, dynamic duo in the National Hockey League. I think the Utah Hockey Club has a chance to have something similar with Dylan Guenther and Logan Cooley. I think you'll see them be a really, really exciting, entertaining, captivating 1-2 punch for the Utah Hockey Club for years to come. The same way that Paul Kariya and Teemu Selanne kind of electrified the NHL for a few years there. I think those guys have a chance. And John Tortorella, you know me, I can't pronounce things very well. The head coach of the Flyers, Torts, he gave high praise to the Utah Hockey Club. He's like, they're rolling out 3 strong lines, very skilled, a lot of fun. And I think coming from him, such an accomplished head coach in the National Hockey League, that speaks volumes. And I think there's a lot to get excited about with the Utah Hockey Club. And again, it's so funny to have these big swings back and forth on our feelings for the Utah Hockey Club. And this has been my joke for a few months now, where if you like consistency, you will hate the Utah Hockey Club because they're going to make your feelings just dramatically shift from one end to the other of the full spectrum of emotions, because they were just on a 5-game losing streak. And now I'm all excited because I just saw a thrilling overtime win by the Utah Hockey Club. It just helps when you have your right guys on the ice, your superstars. And for the Utah Hockey Club, injuries have besieged this team in a crazy way. I showed a graph last episode about how many man games they've lost due to injury. They've lost like the 3rd most amount of games to injury out of the entire National Hockey League. So they've been very, very snake bitten. And we really haven't seen the full team hit the ice at any point in the season, which has been kind of a bummer. And you get the feeling where, had things gone their way on the injury report that, the team's playoff standings might be in a better place. But, hey, it is what it is. Injuries are the worst part of sports. There's nothing you can do about it, right? You just got to do the best you can, have that next man up mentality. But man, was it good to have Dylan Guenther back on the ice last night. Again, he has a certain moxie to him that I think really changes changes what the Utah Hockey Club has in terms of offensive potency and threat. I wanted to go over that last play though in overtime because it was kind of a very interesting sequence. And someone tagged me in a post on Twitter. I know it's called X, but I'm going to continue calling it Twitter. Sorry, Elon. Don't take my funding. You're not going to get a lot. I'll tell you that. But Dren Braves, Dren_Braves, Dren the Utah Outlaw tagged me in this post on Twitter, and he had a really great breakdown of the last sequence. So I want to play it here on the show. And please go give him a follow. I retweeted this as well, so you'll find it on my social media. I'm on all the social medias at SLC Puck. Easy to find, right? So I want to just play this video and just go over it. Again, really, really, really interesting sequence on the last play, and I think it's definitely worth examining a little bit here. So again, we're here in overtime. Just a few seconds now. 19 seconds on the clock is when this breakdown is going to start. Sergachev, Keller, and Guenther are all on the ice. Keller has the puck right here. This guy did a great job with his telestrator. Oh, wait, no, he doesn't. Threw a little fake. What, you see this? So Keller had streaked up the ice, kind of feigning that he had the puck, right? But he really dropped it around the red line. And this is crazy what happens here. So we'll roll it here. He's in the zone. He does not have possession of the puck. He's offsides. Dylan Guenther is going to pick up the puck around the red line here, which I believe is where Keller dropped it. We can't really see too well from this angle. But Keller is going to do something crazy. He's going to skate towards the bench right here. You can see Dylan Guenther's got his eyes on him. And what really this was a very well orchestrated play by Utah's captain Clayton Keller. I'll back this up in case you didn't see what happened here. So as Keller's in the offensive zone offsides, he's going to drag this Philadelphia defender with him to the bench, right? Giving Dylan Guenther a one-on-one opportunity into the zone. You see this? He took the bait. So that defender was totally out of position. Dylan Guenther's one-on-one. He has all this time and space to make a great shot, and he buries that bad girl into the back of the net. So this was a very, very interesting sequence. Oh, but it doesn't stop there. Look at this. Yeah, Dren did a great breakdown here. There's Keller, there's Sergey, and there's Guenther. So he was hiding there all along. This was a really, really, really well orchestrated sequence by the Utah Hockey Club. And this is kind of what's fun about hockey is like these plays like require a lot of practice, a lot of unspoken communication, a lot of just reading and reacting to what's in front of you. Super, super, super cool to see that, and really appreciate Dren's breakdown of this sequence. So again, go check that out. Super cool. Very, very smart play by Clayton Keller and Dylan Guenther. Some great teamwork there to get the overtime win, which was huge for the Utah Hockey Club. They needed this. They did not want to go on this road trip that they're about to embark on a 6-game losing streak. It was really big to get back to winning ways on this, because the sequence that they're going into right now is really important. This is a really critical time for the Utah Hockey Club. And I'm tired of saying this, and I'm sure you guys are tired of hearing this, but it's true, okay? It's just true. I mean, let's look at this road trip they're heading into right here. So I'm talking to you guys on Wednesday, February 5th. I'm not sure when you'll be listening to this, but on the 6th, they are playing the Columbus Blue Jackets, kind of a bubble team in the Eastern Conference playoffs, right? So that's kind of a tough one there. Road game, right? That's going to be tricky. The Columbus beat them last week in overtime. They probably have the Norris Trophy winner on their team, Zach Werenski. And then after that, they're headed to a back-to-back against the Carolina Hurricanes on Saturday. And then the next day, the 9th, they're playing the Washington Capitals. So 2 playoff teams right there, 2 teams at the top of the standings in the Eastern Conference. So very, very tough stretch. And here's what I think also makes this game a little bit tougher. It might help them out on Saturday, or on Sunday, actually, but it also might not. You can see that Saturday game against Carolina, puck drops at 8 a.m. here in Utah Mountain Time. And then the next day they're playing at 10:30 Mountain Time. Obviously they're in the East Coast, but I think those early starts it's going to be hard to kind of get out of their usual rhythm that they're in, because there's a routine, right, to games. You come in, you stretch, you get treatment, you kick the soccer ball around, you do your warm-ups. You're kind of used to this certain rhythm, right? the fact that that rhythm is going to be disrupted 2 days in a row, I think is going to be a little tricky. And those are tough games anyway. So again, I think it was very, very important for the Utah Hockey Club to get back to winning ways last night on Tuesday. So they have at least some confidence, some sort of good juju, going into this little stretch. Because after that is kind of a significant time in the NHL. That game on Sunday, the game against Washington, is the last game before the NHL breaks for the Four Nations Faceoff, which is replacing the All-Star break this year. So that's, again, the tournament between Sweden, Finland, Canada, and the United States, right? Utah Hockey Club has a couple of representatives playing for Finland, Olli Mata and Juuso Välimäki, right? So they'll be representing Finland in that. But a lot of people around the hockey world, and I think this is probably true, and I would agree with this just based on what I've read and based on the vibes, right? You can kind of look at this stretch as like the trade deadline, so to speak. And we're talking right now, the NBA trade deadline is coming up tomorrow afternoon. So the trades are on everybody's minds right now, right? Luka Doncic just went to the Los Angeles Lakers. That was nuts, right? And the Utah Hockey Club, they're not going to have a Luka Doncic type trade, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's some kind of deal. And I wonder if what happens on this stretch here against Columbus, against Carolina, against Washington will affect what GMBA, General Manager Bill Armstrong, chooses to do while they're over this break for the Four Nations Faceoff. Because Utah, again, they're kind of stuck. They're kind of on the fence right now. They might be buyers. They might be sellers. They might want to buy some assets, get some more guys who can bolster the roster a little bit so they can make a real push for the playoffs. Or maybe they'll decide it just isn't in the card for them this year. They could liquidate some assets and get some stuff back. So liquidate some expiring contracts, I should say. Get some assets back to gear up for next season. I think it's going to be really interesting to see. I think it wouldn't surprise me if the next time we see the Utah Hockey Club play in the Delta Center, which is going to be on the 23rd, the break ends on the 22nd. They play the Kings in Los Angeles then, and then the next night they're back here in Utah on the 23rd to play the Canucks. That's going to be a big game as well. If it's a little bit of a different team next time we see the Utah Hockey Club. I don't know who's going to be gone, who's going to be in, but it wouldn't surprise me if there's going to be a shakeup between now and then in some way on the roster, but only time can tell, right? Now, I want to address one more thing to my listeners, to those of you who believe in me, those of you who have been following me since day one. The gravity of what I'm about to say is pretty huge. So I want to take my time with this to do it right, to just let you guys know that it's hard to feel one way about something and then have your feelings change in another way. And it's interesting. There's like a tinge of sadness, a little bit of chagrin, perhaps. I would say there's also a lot of hope and optimism and excitement for the future. And it's on those notes that I must submit, I think I'm kind of coming around on the Mammoth name. I kind of think I like it now, and I think I've been convinced for a few different reasons. But I think I'll tell you what it is, and I'll put this up on the screen again. And if you're listening to me on Apple or Spotify, you're missing the visuals. Get over to YouTube and subscribe to the show, for crying out loud. Let's get this over 1,000 sooner rather than later. Come on now. Jeez, guys. Anyway, I really like this logo. My guy Nick did this. Nick Archer. I see him at games all the time. He's a great dude. Bump into him. He was a big believer in Team Yeti. He even made custom Yeti jerseys for a little bit that I think he was selling and wearing around. I think he's had to give that up, but it's still, shout out to Nick. He's obviously a very talented graphic designer, but he put together this really cool logo that combines kind of the mountains that we saw with the mythical snow creature logo, what would have been the Yeti logo, with what was also shown as the Mammoth logo. And I really like it. I'll be honest, I really like it. And so when I see this logo And when I think about the other possibilities, because the reason I liked Outlaws, let's be honest, is because I envisioned like a grand show happening at the Delta Center where, shootouts could be fun, penalties could be fun, the songs could be a lot of fun, the merch could be cool. That was why I was on board with Outlaws. I think you can do a lot of those same things in a different flavor with the Mammoth name. And so when I've realized that, I've sort of come more on board with Mammoth. And I think now I can count myself among the Mammoth advocates. I'm not going to be like those guys who have been wearing Mammoth costumes since day one, which, by the way, I'll give shout out to those guys. I don't know if you guys have been following this, if you know who I'm talking about, but there's been a group of like 3 or 4 gentlemen who have been going to a lot of games. I don't know if they're season ticket holders or if they've been just going to a bunch of games at the Delta Center, but they've been dressed as Mammoths. They're wearing like Mammoth onesies with Utah Hockey Club jerseys over them. And it was so funny to see like this last round of voting, when they announced the finalists, Mammoth, Utah Hockey Club, Utah Wasatch, remember that for a minute, and then Outlaws again. I remember that first night when they went back to voting in the arena. Those guys were walking around the Delta Center with the biggest crap-eating smiles on their faces. They felt, I'm sure at that moment, they felt like they were the most vindicated, intelligent, smartest guys in the world. And honestly, they weren't wrong. That was. I'm glad they had their moment there. That was a lot of. I saw every TV station in the market interview them as well, and I'm sure they were very, very proud of how on point they had been to be advocating for what is now the front runner. By the way, I think Mammoth is probably the overwhelming favorite on social media, and just seeing like the creativity that a lot of people have put into this, including Nick, who did this great logo here. I am now on board with Mammoth. I can live with it, and I'll tell you what it really is. It's the tusks. I like the tusks, and I'll go back to Nick's logo here. Those tusks look cool. I think there's a lot of cool things you could do with this. I would be totally happy, and I think a lot of people would be too, if this ends up being the permanent identity for this team. I am willing to let go of my love for Outlaws so that I can more fully embrace what we could have with the Utah Mammoth. I want to be a woolly bully. I want to get a Mammoth onesie like those maniacs at the Delta Center. I want to get a little stuffed animal at the team store, a very poorly priced stuffed animal with a little jersey for $50 at the team store. There's a lot of fun things we could do. I want a Mammoth mascot in the stands doing his thing, maybe goofing off with Jazz Bear, Hockey Bear all the time. I would be completely fine with Mammoth. I was so terrified they were going to choose one of the other names that I thought were far inferior. I thought it was a little scary to have Venom be a finalist at one point, or Blizzard. Those would have been horrific choices. I would have been very, very disappointed. Mammoth, I could not only live with, I would be happy with at this point. So I know this is going to be earth shattering to a lot of people who know me as one of the strongest advocates for Outlaws. Again, I am sorry to do this to those of you who remain on Team Outlaws, but I am switching allegiances. I'm a Benedict Arnold at this point, and I am ready to root for the Utah Mammoth. I think that could be a lot of fun. So that's my take on it, but it remains to be seen. We'll see what happens, right? There's still maybe a chapter or two to be written on this. We'll see what ends up being the case. We might not know until the summer. We might not know until May. We might not know until maybe even September, right before the season starts. But I get the feeling, based on current fan sentiment, if we're reading into what's on social media and perhaps what's been voted on in the arena, and again, there's no way to know. We might not ever know what the voting in the arena was. I think Mammoth feels like the more likely choice at this point. So Alex, I'm excited to see how that turns out. And that was episode 80 of SLC Puck. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Don't forget to support our great sponsor, Payne Anthony Creative Jewelers and Jonathan's Jewelry. I've been having a great promotion here. We did have a giveaway winner. We selected the winner. We notified them today. If you'd like to enter the contest right here, scan this QR code. I played an ad about this midway through the show, but this is just a reminder. I've had this QR code up the entire episode. Scan in, hit text. You'll be entered to win a $250 gift card at Payne Anthony Creative Jewelers and Jonathan's Jewelry. So big thanks to them for sponsoring SLC Puck. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Merch at slcpuck.shop. And go Mammoth, I guess. We'll talk to you guys soon.